Guys, you can still get tickets for our live show on Wednesday, the 8th of October to celebrate our 200th episode. It's going to be at the Leicester Square Theatre that evening, and it's our first ever live show.
Be a part of our 200th episode. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to be talking about big movie topics, answering questions from you guys, playing some trivia games. 100%. It's going to be so much fun. We'll be revealing more details as the weeks come, but join in because tickets are selling fast.
So guys, the link to buy the tickets is below. Make sure you get them if you want to be there.
So we had a little fun morning, didn't we?
It was a fun morning.
We were reviewing the film together today, and we went to see it together.
Uh-huh.
And
it was, bear in mind, it's a 28-degree day in sunny London, hot.
But we had a nice 10 a.m. screening booked in, which was lovely because you get to London, it's still cool and quiet.
And this is the type of screening that is not like a big multimedia after-work screening. It's not a premiere. This is like a very functional. They're at like the Soho screening rooms, which have much smaller, just more functional spaces. Very good screens, very good sound, it's just sort of where typically like industry, press, journalists will go and see films during the day, which we actually quite like because it's quite nice to catch like a 10 or 11 or a 1 p.m. and you come out and you're not losing your evening.
No.
And we turn up at this screening Monday morning, and a lot of other industry journalists are there, such as Mark Kermode, such as Robbie Collin. He's lovely. Spoken to Robbie Collin a few times now. Really nice guy. And then someone from the PR company comes in.
And they're like, "Oh, sorry guys, there's just a teeny little thing with the sound, so the screen's gonna be a little bit delayed. It's gonna be like 10:30. Well, no, that's okay.
Easy.
Wait, just sit,
Emails,
chat. No problem. Boom. And then about 25 past 10, they go, "Okay, guys, we can give you the film, but you need to go to the Odeon in Leicester Square right now. The Odeon West End specifically, and they will show up. We need to go right now." Someone's like, "Oh, okay." Packing up their stuff, and we walk through central London.
20-minute walk.
20 minute walk, and it's getting warmer outside. But at this point, we've been sat in the aircon. It's been okay. Okay, well, and we get to the Odeon West End, which is
not
shut.
open yet.
And so there's a corral of us sort of critics just sort
waiting
of outside.
outside.
Then someone eventually comes with like a giant keychain and like opens it. In we go, and it's like several stories down underground. And we get there, but the screen's not open yet. So we just sort of wait.
There's
in the
no
lobby.
one there.
No one
it's
there.
like the lights aren't on behind the bar. Like there's nothing happening.
It's like being in an airport at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Very much so. Services, actually.
Services. And then we hung there for like another 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And all the other critics, people like Kermode, have got places to be afterwards, other screenings to go to.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we can make it back there in time. It'll be fine. I'm enjoying just watching the press milieu, being in the room with people like Kermode and seeing how they operate.
Yeah.
And then 15, 20 minutes later, and we're thinking this is a better screen as well. This is
very
proper
good. The
cinema.
luxe seats. It's got the recliners.
And then they go, okay, it's still going to take 15 minutes to upload onto this one, but actually the Soho Screen Rooms is now working, so you can go back there and watch it there.
So we had to get our stuff, walk all the way back, which like some people were like, "Oh, you're joking." Yeah. And now we had to walk all the way back.
Well,
now
we forget when we go to leave, we go to the top of the Odeon West End, and someone from inside
has bike locked us in.
Yeah.
So the double doors have just got a bike lock, and then we're all just standing there. And it was this really weird thing of like we're just being corralled around London with like the film critics and media personalities we used to watch growing up, who are now just like interacting with in this real like passive relationship. What's it called?
Parasocial
relationship. We're walking through. Like, this is really funny, but really interesting. We then slowly, now we're hot.
The sun has moved round. We walk a different route. Like,
just before getting into the Soho screening room, walked behind the back of a white van and did kind of, in a way, get hit by the van, like a little bit.
That van was reversing and it wasn't looking.
Just
where
reversing, didn't look, and I got bumped by the van, but I made it and I was fine. But I was like, George, am I dead? Am I okay?
The guy in the street cleaning mobile helped by beeped his horn to be like, "What are you doing? You just hit someone."
Yeah.
And but we will sue.
We'll see.
But James got a little bit bumped by the van.
It was
like,
a nice
what
little
else
story.
Like,
we came all the way back, and it was like, and I got hit by a van. And even Mark Kermode was like, he got hit by a van.
And it was like quite a bonding experience. But it did mean when the film began, which it was an hour later, so it was about 11 now. That's fine. But I was very warm.
I was warm and a little bit frazzled. And my eyes were still like glassy from the sun.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm okay. I'll make it. But it a very dark opening to the film.
Yes.
Which
woody,
dark cave.
Yeah.
And it was sort of, I've been in a very bright place, a very hot place. Now I'm in a very dark, cold place with dark little things on there. I was like, I do hope I manage, but I managed fine. But I didn't know it was on the edge.
No. And I had to, it was that thing where like I sat to watch the film, and in the first 10 minutes, like my glasses were just sliding off my face with sweat. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to raw dog this one with my eyeballs. But it was fun, and actually, like, we'll talk about this when we review together later this episode. But like, obviously, we were huge fans of Kermode growing up, and like I said, it was great to be around him. But also, like, we were sat in a way that during the sort of more intense parts of the movie, I was able to look over at Kermode and see what his reaction and
watch him watch a film,
which actually felt like a little privilege because it felt like we were properly we literally were in the same room together.
Yes, yeah.
And I've never you don't know what Kermode looks like when he watches a movie.
No, never. Yeah.
Now we do.
Yeah,
and I was watching, I was like, oh, he's enjoying it.
For any of you who have listened to Mark Kermode, you'll know that we've borrowed not like the structure, but I think the way in which we have adopted a radio style of talking about films, given that we're a podcast.
Yeah.
And I think you and I have listened to Kermode, I from like my teens into my uni years and beyond, and then sort of less so as I've been doing this. But so much of how we structured this show in so many ways is owed to like that radio broadcast style that I think we grew up listening to Mark Kermode on. And if you don't know, like that's sort of where our 10 to 15 minute review structure comes from. But if you do, you'll probably already know that that's our inspiration in a way.
He also, the inspiration he gives is like, he would always just review a film for its intentions. You know, he would not
and consider its audience.
He wouldn't be. Yeah, that's it. And he wouldn't be a film snob. He would, rate a horror for being scary, rate a comedy for being funny, and a romantic film, how much made you swoon? Like that. It is what it is.
Making a review accessible regardless of the content of the film, I think, is
and
key.
Entertaining.
And also, that's probably a byproduct of like at the time having to review for the BBC and making it universal. Whereas maybe if you're working for a more specific film outlet, you can assume that people will already be up to date with everything you're trying to say. Whereas I think there's a universality of the BBC that I think actually makes that more approachable.
But he was a good. I mean, I say what he still is, but like he's not on the BBC anymore. But like when we listen to him, like such a good personality because he's distinctive. He's got his kind of teddy boy haircut and he's kind of like music rock edge, and he gets really ranty and gets very funny, and is the master of a 2-minute review. Simon would say, "Okay, we've got 2 minutes to the news. What can we fit in?" He'd go, "Well, let's quickly do so and so and so." And he would be able to bash out a film review.
And when they did the top 10, he would give like 5 seconds on each one. Like they'd go through and he'd run through, and sometimes it would be a.
Yeah,
like if you had nothing to say about
sound.
it, and if you were listening to the show, week to week, you would like pick up on his opinion of
the
films. And totally with emails, they always had amazing emails, and I like how the emails continue the conversation of the films as they come in and out of cinemas,
which is what we wanted to incorporate.
Which I really liked with our show, which people who write in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com really do add to the show and evolve the conversation.
We didn't plan that, we didn't know how quickly we'd get an audience.
Or emails.
Nice, that's it at all. So totally. we're very thankful for that. But
for us, though, I think really significant to be in the room with someone like that.
Yeah,
and like brushing shoulders and go through.
Huge win. And people like Robbie Collin as well. And it's like Kermode is a real inspiration, as you just said. And it is great. I have very fond memories of listening to him at all ages. When I was, from like 8 years old, probably hearing him in the background, slowly getting into him more and more. So it's fun. Yeah, it's fun being him. They were like, that's probably Mark Kermode.
And similarly, not to just blow our gas up our own skirts too much, but like Past Lives was one of our favorite films from 2 years ago. And if you told me, James, in 2 years, we're going to interview Celine Song for her next film, I would have been thrilled. And I am thrilled. And we're so busy like in the planning of organizing that, and everything with these things is always a maybe, but when you actually get to do it, and we always have a positive experience with these interviews, it is worth acknowledging, because we have an interview with Celine Song, how fun and amazing that is that we got to do it.
And she was lovely, and it always goes so quickly, and we had a good slot, so that's coming up later.
Look forward to that.
So today's episode, if you haven't caught up on last week's episode, by the way, which was about weapons and the Naked Gun, go and do so. We dropped a spoiler cast about weapons, where James caught up on the film, gave his thoughts. We also talked about some of the great moments from it. Check that out. This week, we're going to be talking about Together, which we just talked about, which we just referenced rather, from the screening this morning, fresh out of it, so our thoughts are very fresh. And we'll also be talking about Materialists, which includes an interview with director Celine Song, with whom we spoke last week. Anything to add, James, before we catch on?
I think we're good to go.
Let's roll with some movies. And of course, James, one thing we forgot to say when we were marching back and forth across Soho for the screening today was that we walked past the venue for episode 2
Very
Crown.
exciting.
If you haven't got your tickets yet for our live event we're doing in October, on October the 8th for episode 200, go get them out.
George, we're on in the West End.
We are. We're making a West End debut.
Yeah, West End debut. I had to think about that. I was like, I am playing on the West End. I'm really bigging myself up today. But you know what I mean? Yeah. We are going to be performing on London's West End.
It's Les Mis. It's Phantom of the Opera. It's Pulp Kitchen's 200th episode.
Oh, guys, go and get your tickets if you haven't already. They are selling hot. And we'd love as many of you to be there as possible. So make sure you go and get it. It's our live show.
We're aware of some people flying in.
Yes. Oh my God, we got a DM about people flying in.
Yeah, I mean,
that's really fun.
We'd
If
love
you are
to see
coming
it.
from afar,
let us know.
even like from the north, let us know. I want to know. Out of town. And let's know if you're coming out of town.
If your journey to us is longer than 2 hours, I want to hear about it.
Yeah.
I want to know what coach you got on.
If you booked a flight
railway
or a ship, I want to know.
Got the ferry
for
from
environmentally conscious.
I got the ferry from Amsterdam to Hull and then down to London.
Yeah.
I want to hear those
If
people.
Greta Thunberg wants to come, she has to get on a boat now.
But yes, don't forget that, guys.
Link
you can
is
get your
in
tickets
description
as ever.
So, George, Together, a film starring and produced by two of our closest friends that we made at Sundance.
Besties.
Dave Franco and Alison Brie, who we met. We basically met them 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
And it was nice that on the second day, they were like, oh, hey, man. That's my Dave Franco impression. And he was just a really nice...
Lovely
it was these moments where we had sort of done our interview, we were about to do it, but milling about in this holding space, green room, coffee area, would just be the stars where we interact. And because we were British with the likes of Olivia Colman, you just had a 10-minute conversation with her and Joel Edgerton and other people we could name drop. But it was the coolest part of Sundance.
It was, yeah. We talked about Latvia.
And he talked about Latvia, and it was just like... Or was it Estonia? It was Estonia.
So yeah.
Where he shot another film that he made called Bubble and Squeak, which I'm sure will come to light at some point. But yeah, I think I was the one that got to interview these two. Yes. And they were both just like lovely and fun, and they sort of those really beautiful celebrities that look you directly in the eye with wide eyes.
And having fun, enjoying their time there, enjoying the fun experience of they've made a movie. They're enjoying being around movie people.
And that thing about Sundance, which we really felt, is like people were genuinely showing off their films for the first time, which I think creates a palpable excitement for people who go away privately to make things, and then they sort of like emerge. And they play, Tim and Millie, a part, two characters in a relationship, which is quite fun because they are also together. Tim and Millie are moving out of the big city and into the countryside. They are together. Millie works as a teacher and has got a new job in the countryside, and Tim is an aspiring musician with limited success in his career, and there's a little bit of a sort of tension between one of them being having a little bit more of their stuff together than the other. They have a little bit of intimacy and sexual issues in their relationship, and the sense that Tim is a little bit incompetent. He doesn't drive, so he's dependent on her to take him around. He's ever so slightly emasculated by the career discrepancy. But they move into this gorgeous new house surrounded by woodland, and they go on a very tranquil, beautiful hike through the woods, which obviously turns sour as the rains pour down, and they end up falling into a dark cave where they spend the night. And after something very mysterious going on in the cave, they spend the night there and realize that something about them wants them to literally, in some senses, stick together. It starts off with their legs being ever so slightly stuck, and they wonder if it's some sort of like natural dew that stuck them together. But they make their way out, carrying their normal lives, but something is seriously off. There's an element of body horror. It re-brings up all of these issues of what it means to be in a relationship, this togetherness, this closeness, needing to be apart, forge your own path. And I don't want to reveal too much, but things start to get very, very strange. There's definitely like a sense of humor about the film, but also it's very dark and gory. And quite playful.
Yes.
But we've just come out of... And I would just say, by the way, like, we're kind of on a 3 for 3 from Bring Her Back, Weapons, and this. Like, it's not been in... They're great films, but not been an easy time at the cinema to watch all of these. But George, Together, how did you get on with it? And sorry, I just wanted to give a shout out to the poster, which is two of their eyeballs like a centimetre apart, and their eyelashes have stuck together. And it's just, sorry.
I think it's worth saying, actually, off the back of having Weapons and Bring Her Back the week before, like, this is a slightly different kettle of fish. Like, it is, broadly speaking, a horror film. It's absolutely a body horror film, but it's not a scary film. There are moments well, I wouldn't describe it as scary. Like, I mean, there's moments that maybe go like, oh, that's a bit unsettling, icky, but like not scary in the sense that like Bring Her Back or Weapons is, right? It's not like, I wouldn't say this is like
those two,
moments. Did you find this scary?
I think there are like a couple of sequences where it's trying to scare you.
Okay. Yeah. I thought it was like kind of creepy and atmospheric, but I thought more its focus was like it was more on the body horror and more on like the kind of visceral reaction to it. And then you have this, as James said, like a kind of subtle thing about intimacy and relationship. It's a body horror relationship drama with a little dash of comedy thrown in. I think this is actually perfectly solid. And I would say that's what keeps it solid. So I say off the back of Bring Her Back and Weapons, I didn't find it scary, so I can't rate it very highly as a horror. But I found it very engaging and interesting. The design of it is this very specific sort of this cave that they enter, that they fall into, where this sort of wellspring of water is that gets is the source of this whatever you want to call it, parasite, curse, whatever.
Reminded me of Devil's Snare in the first Harry Potter film. The look of it, like the vines and the wood.
Yes, and it's like got elements of like a church that have been engrossed and embossed into the ground, and it's a little bit of like H.R. Geiger in there. I think a little bit like that. Yeah, cool. And the opening of the film actually reminds me very specifically of a scene from The Thing.
Oh yeah,
totally, like a huge like direct comparison. And there's a little even. Like there is a little bit of the icky body horror of The Thing in this as well, but instead of it being practical effects of this, is visual effects.
People who've seen The Substance will definitely find something to enjoy here if you're that way inclined.
And it's bone crunchy and scratchy and icky, and I think it's an hour 40, and I think it's perfectly solid. I think that there was a point in the middle where I felt like you are delaying the third act to make this film longer, which is that you two need to sit down and talk about what's happening. But in order for that to happen, that will incur the third act of this movie.
Right, yeah.
And I was kind of waiting for that to happen because things were already getting quite strange. But when the third act happens, I'm like, great, this is what we've all been waiting for when everything is, kicking off. There was a point in the middle of the film as well where they mentioned something, and it's about certain characters' musical taste. And I was like, I know exactly how this movie's going to end. I know exactly how they're going to shoot. I know exactly what they're going to do, and I know exactly what the ending's going to be. And I was right. It's nice to be right, but I was like, yeah, that actually happened. Yeah. So it's fine. I don't think it's. I think in its earlier moments when it's kind of about the relationship and kind of scenes of dialogue, I wouldn't say it's like deeply profound, but it is surprising when it delivers the body horror and icky and crunchy enough to make a good time. It's solid.
Yeah, I had a good time with it. I think it's actually quite thought provoking in terms of its unpacking of relationships, though silly and heavy handed. I do think the film is also having a lot of fun with how silly it definitely is, and the fact that all the bodies smushing together, and there's a particular scene where they are together that has to be untogethered in a particularly horrible way. And if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And all the stuff with there is something quite funny of at some point in the film, they find it so hard to not be physically touching. Yeah. There's this force that's drawing them together. And while it's actually quite scary and there's bone cracking and back curling, it is also just quite funny to see them resist. And when they have this rational conversation, it's like, I don't think we should sleep in the same bed. And he's like, I agree. I think we should stay far away from each other. It's almost like sitcom-like in that sense.
And there's a little bit of slapstick, isn't there? I think
a little bit of slapstick. And I think that they do have great chemistry, obviously, there together. I don't know if they're married, but they're in a relationship. But they definitely are a couple that just do have a sense of humor. Please find out if they're married. They do have a fun sense of humor with each other, and I really felt the familiarity between their dynamic of being able to just be silly with each other, throw each other around the room, all of those barriers of being vulnerable with that other person. I could really tell. I think Dave Franco's on a really interesting, fun career trajectory. I think years and years ago, I'm talking when he was in Jump Street Films and Neighbours, I was almost he's James Franco's younger brother who's finding his way in these other comedy films. And obviously James Franco's had his whole drama, but was really big in the noughties with Spider-Man films and did things like 127 Hours, but fell off slightly.
There's almost given room for Dave Franco to come
almost
up,
given room for Dave Franco, who's not only been great in comedy films, but I actually think is doing lots of really interesting work and is popping up and being brilliant in things and is doing more leading roles. And I'm always just like, you know what? You're not sort of like a Daniel Day-Lewis of my time, but I actually think you're a really solid screen presence. And similar though with Alison Brie, I just thought they were both really fun and playful together. It is definitely silly. There are some real let's make Act 3 happen moments with some very convenient things and videotapes that just happen to be playing to explain something to the audience. That is there, but nonetheless the film has to find its way to the end. But I'm not holding against it for sort of wrapping itself up slightly.
And it is It's original. It's an original IP.
Original, yeah.
There wasn't times where I thought, oh, this is just ripping off of something else. I genuinely thought it blended things in an interesting way. There are actually only about 3 characters.
Very small.
Very small cast.
It really is.
But I enjoyed the kind of plucky ness of it, and it didn't also look like it was made on the cheap. It looked like actually when they needed to deliver the goods, they needed to deliver the moments, they invested the money the right way.
Also, for a film that takes place in a house, it didn't feel like they just rented a house and made a film. Because it is a small film in that sense that they have a house and surrounding woodland area, and they sort of, there's the school and parts of that. But it never felt cheap or sort of like lo-fi.
Yeah,
because that can happen. I've talked about that phenomenon before, where it's like I can tell you just had this location.
I actually almost think
the crew
it was probably an internal set and then just an exterior house, actually.
It could be,
They do go to, there's another person's house they go to, which is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, like
yellow
oaky,
house.
natural woods and
lovely.
All of that. Yeah. A real sort of small ensemble piece, which again, I think adds to the intimate, close, no pun intended, feeling that this film creates. And I just also will give a shout out to the body horror when it does come. I found it hard to look about, and I was sort of like grimacing in my seat, like seeing things smush, and reminding me of this game Inside. If you played it, and of course the substance, maybe not turned all the way up to 11, or turned all the way up to 51, like the substance was, but that is there, and you will not forget it.
And I think actually, like, given the people we just spent all that morning with running around London, it was actually quite nice. We were all then sharing this experience. We were all giggling and wincing. And there's one particular sequence of them together in a certain way that is in a very precarious situation. That is very sort of like, oh no,
by the way, I knew as soon as we were doing like the stickiness, I knew that moment was going to come. I'm so really frustrated if you don't know what you're talking about. You can probably allude to what we're talking about, but I was like, I know that scene is going to happen. It's going to be brutal.
A good sort of piece of work. Like,
also, sorry, like the idea of like the baggage you bring in from your past life into your relationship, how that affects the dynamic. A lot of that is quite interesting. I don't think it goes much beyond the script, but there's just like interesting conversations that they have with relationships that apply to a lot of true scenarios. And I think that's quite fun.
Yeah, and then there is a bit of it. Like, obviously, there's bits when they're together, and it's like they say, "Well, if we don't split now, it'll just get harder later on." Which is like, because it's exactly the same thing you said about your relationship.
I will also say, when the opening text comes up and it's together, they smushed the spacing of the letters so that the letters stuck. That's nice. That's playful, because it's a very sort of like almost a Times New Roman font, but they sort of had a little playful, a serif font, famously. And they smushed them together, and they're sort of like, I like that. I thought, that was very fun.
Good typeface, good typage.
Good typage, go serious.
So we enjoyed it, had a good time. I'm not trying to diminish its I'm not trying to diminish its horror credentials. It's more that like I found it atmospheric. I didn't find it like it didn't scare me. But I was enthralled by the kind of the shock of it. But you find it a bit more scary.
I think there are 2 moments where I was like, ugh, but there are 2. I wouldn't say it's like out and out trying to scare you all the time.
I think it's trying to. I think it's probably trying to do something a bit different to the previous 2 films we've seen.
More character-y and sort of like a dynamic, metaphorical.
Yeah.
It's a relationship film.
It's like a little folk tale, isn't it?
Go see it with your partner.
2 little people go down to the woods. Your Jack and Jill went down the hill. Fell into
Go see it with your partner, and you'll have a little conversation on the way home. It's quite fun.
So that was Together. We have an email about Together, actually.
Oh, please.
From a listener who had clearly seen it ahead of time.
Look at you.
This is from Arthur, who writes in and says, "Hello, lads. Arthur, long-time listener, second-time emailer here. I was recently lucky enough to catch the upcoming Alison, Brie and Dave Franco horror film Together at a secret screening. I want to share my spoiler-free thoughts. P.S. A side note, I'm certain this was the one you were interviewing about Sundance. Yes, it was. While I had near to no expectations about this film from its trailer, I have to be honest, this is one of the biggest surprises of the year for me. Admittedly, though narratively similar and occasionally predictable when it comes to tropes of the horror genre, the film conjoins, pun intended, really inventive and disturbingly effective body horror with dark humor, and culminates in a memorable final act that had my screening expressing many different emotions. There were gasps, confusion, shock, disgust, nausea, anger, hatred. Is this a review of Inside Out? Very keen to hear your thoughts on this one when it's released in August, and I recommend recommend going to see this with a crowd of or friends. Just don't sit too close to each other. Haha. Keep up the good work, Arthur. P.S. Do you know about the plagiarism lawsuit surrounding this suit? Luckily for me, I only read into it after the screening, and while my opinions on the film aren't affected, I can see why many are instantly dismissing this, and it's getting torn down in certain areas of social cinema discourse. People can read about that online. We just had a quick skim read on Variety, and the information is out there. It sounds like kind of an interesting case, but if we don't want to do a discredit to the facts of what's happening by summarizing an article incorrectly. So please, if you're interested in what Arthur's raised, go check it out online.
If the news story picks up, we'll cover it on Double Take, our Patreon exclusive news show where we cover such controversy. So if you want to support us, please head over to our Patreon where you get an entirely different news show from me and George covering the latest and greatest in cinema.
Oh, and I can confirm that Dave Franco and Alison Brie married.
Oh, great. That's lovely.
That's
great.
really
That's
nice.
cute.
And James, would you like to guess their ages?
Oh, God. That's really tough. Is she older than him?
She is.
Dave Franco is going to be 33.
Mm-hmm. And Alison Brie?
Alison Brie, 37.
James, I asked you.
By the way, just for context, me and George do this like 3 times a day with everything.
Why not? Why make if you can make something again?
I recently was like, George, how old is Clive Owen?
Yeah. And I was wrong, wasn't I? I was too old.
You were wrong, yeah, you're too old.
James, I asked you how old Alison Brie and Dave Franco were, right? For Dave Franco, you said
33.
He was 33.
34.
James, no, you've said 33. Final answer.
Much older.
I can confirm that his age is 40.
Wow, he looks great.
Yes,
he looks great.
And I can confirm that Alison Brie's age is 42.
Wow,
good for them both.
Good for them both. But Dave Franco,
you think he's looking 33? That's a. You think he's 2 years older than us?
Yeah, when you say that, because I'm thinking about.
I probably could have said 36.
Yeah, 35 or something.
How old's James Franco?
Must be 40s.
I'm just
saying. James
45.
Must be.
James is 47. That's
47.
A 7-year age gap.
I think he feels a lot older. God, Dave Franco.
Tom Franco.
Do you remember the jacket he wore? Had a great jacket.
Shearling kind of jacket. Yeah, the black thing. Yeah, I didn't like his jump though. Sort of the red and green kind of like mishmash. Gave me sort of like it looked like a bus seat. You know, like you when you go on a coach, a school trip coach. And the coach seat's all sort of a weird pattern to hide the dirt.
I also, you know,
sorry, Dave. Welcome on the show anytime.
You know who had a brilliant jacket too? By the way, it was -17 centigrade when we were out there. Was Callum Turner?
Yeah, a great jacket.
And in between, I said, "Oh, Callum, I really like that jacket. Where's it from?" And he just went, "It's Prada."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh, you're a celebrity." Yeah. And I had to be like, "Oh, cool," as if I would ever shop at Prada.
Oh, I must pick one up on my way back.
With like leather and fur lined, easily north of $5,000.
Gifted as well, probably.
Oh, he wouldn't pay a penny.
Yeah.
He wouldn't pay a penny.
He looked you in the face, dead in the eye, and it was basically being like, "Fuck you." It doesn't fucking matter.
He's like, I could lie, but Prada. Prada.
Okay, that was together.
Callum Turner could be James Bond.
Callum Turner could be James Bond. Those
you
are the
know
rumors.
when he gets cast, I'm cycling that photo straight up again. me and Cal Dog.
You're gonna AI him a tuxedo, and you'll be like, "This is the first interview he ever did."
When he whispered it in my ear.
James, how old do you think Callum Turner is?
So I think Dua Lipa's only a little bit older than us, or she's our age. She's younger.
She's 29.
The question is now,
that's 2 years younger than us.
God, it's Cal.
Well, she's about to turn 30.
Yeah,
so
okay. So
in a week.
Is he 32, 33?
He's 35.
35, okay. Nice.
That's
happily engaged, Dua Lipa and Callum Turner.
Yeah. Still, I haven't had the save the date for their wedding.
No, and Callum Turner was really, I felt like we had a moment. You go scroll back to January on our Instagram and you can see that.
I'm going to let you indulge that story.
I'll totally indulge it.
Because every time you bring it up, it gets bigger.
Bigger. We kissed,
until it gets to the point where you're like, Callum Turner would whisper in my ear that you want to do something. Then I'll be like, okay, guys.
Yeah.
But whenever their wedding is, I just hope it doesn't clash with Tom and Zendaya's, because what will we tell them?
I know.
One of us will have to go to one and the other.
And they can't move it because they're both busy filming.
So it's a nightmare.
She'll be on tour soon.
Oh, the world just revolves around our diaries.
Let's go to the next. Let's mingle with the stars. They really didn't know that we'd be talking about that interaction for the rest of the year, or potentially the rest of my life. That every time Callum Turner's mentioned, I'll go, "Yeah, he loved me.
Yeah,
he loved me.
He licked my neck and whispered in my ear, 'Take me now.' And you said, 'I can't. I'm working.'"
Yeah, and to this day, like if Joel Edgerton comes up, we'll be like, "What a nice guy he was.
Yeah.
What a lovely conversationalist, erudite, smart,
Joel Edgerton,
casual.
I haven't heard that name in a long time. Takes me back to Utah.
Joey E.
Yeah."
So just before we talk about Materialist, which is directed by Celine Song, who most recently made Past Lives, which we really, really enjoyed.
Great
you can go
movie.
and check out that review from a few years ago. And again, we got to gush about it when we did the Pulp Kitchen Awards. She's got her latest film out called Materialist, and we got 10 minutes with Celine Song, which we're going to play an interview for you now. If you don't know, Materialist is a film starring Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal. And it is all about Dakota Johnson's character, who is called Lucy. And she works for a very exclusive, high net worth, like very sort of appointment only dating service where she takes the attributes of high net worth individuals and like painstakingly tries to find them a match. And it's a very difficult process. But through that, she has become almost ever so slightly jaded and cynical to the material aspects of what makes a person valuable, aka what kind of family they came from. Are they a smoker? Are they a drinker? How much money do they earn? What job do they have? Where do they live? All of this work has broken people down into these incredibly material elements. And she also has these ideas about herself and the type of partner she would be. She has an ex who is played by Chris Evans, who's called John. And in the process of finding suitors, she ends up meeting Harry, played by Pedro Pascal, who what she describes as a unicorn. He is on paper what would be considered like a diamond find, the perfect person with all the material attributes. And she ends up getting slightly involved with this person instead of setting them up, and creates this love triangle. That's all you really need to know about the film. It's beautifully suave and gorgeously shot on film, set in New York City.
And we had the opportunity to speak to Celine Song, and we'll play that interview for you now. Just a couple of things. In it, Celine mentions very briefly about where the ending of the movie takes place. It sounds like a spoiler. It actually isn't.
Oh, yeah, it's not a spoiler.
It's just a purely locational thing, but I just want to flag that in case you haven't seen the movie and you think it's a spoiler, it's not.
All numbered episodes of Pulp Kitchen remain spoiler-free for everyone listening.
Absolutely. So here is Celine Song talking about Materialists.
Hi Celine, so nice to meet you.
Hi,
I'm
so nice to
James,
meet
this
you.
is George.
Hey,
We're from a
George.
film podcast called Pulp Kitchen.
Okay.
And we just want to say congratulations on the film.
Thank you so much.
We're really excited to speak to you. We both loved Past Lives, and it's
Yeah.
one of our favourite films of 2023, so it's
Great,
such a
thank
pleasure
you.
to meet you today.
So good to meet you guys.
Absolutely. It was such a great movie, and actually in the 2 years since, what's been great on our show is how many people have written in and talked about how much they love that show alongside our love for it as well.
Yeah.
And my first question is really just about 2 years on from that whole experience, like now people really rate that movie and hold it dearly as one of their favourite movies. Like how do you feel about that whole experience and how do you reflect on the fact that people love that film and hold it so dearly?
I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
No? I think that I had the pleasure of releasing that film globally, and I was going to go around the world and talk to everyone. I think that it really gave me the kind of a confirmation of something that I believed, which is that all of us are very, very interested in our own lives. And that we're very interested in love in our own lives, right? Love in many different kinds. I think that that is something that I really took to feel a lot of confidence when it came to my new movie, Materialists. Because the thing about this movie is that, of course, I always knew, I feel like even though there are very few romantic comedies of this kind, and there are many things about like, well, where does modern romance really exist in cinema? Like, where does it exist? And I would always know the answer, which is that like, no, I mean, honestly, I went globally with my first film talking about feelings in our lives. And everybody is obsessed with it. And everybody is obsessed with talking about feelings in their own lives. So I know that. I know that it's something that I do think that we're a little varied in how embarrassed we are to admit it.
Yeah.
You know, like some people are more shy to tell me about their love life than others. But I always knew that there was such great interest in it. So anytime there was a bit of doubt about like, yeah, will people come see this movie in the movie theaters? I'm like, absolutely. People are gonna want to come and see Materialists because we're all interested in having a conversation. We want an opportunity to sit in a movie theater and get to talk about our own love, relationship, marriage, dating. Yeah.
And so I noticed in both Past Lives and Materialists,
Yeah.
you really love to compose your frame with two characters on either side of the
Yeah.
screen, long conversations, ideological clashes. What is it about that composition that lends itself so well to telling your stories?
Well, I think that, some of it is about seeing the movie in the cinemas, I think, that more than being on a smaller monitor or something in streaming and something like that. I think about this sometimes like, well, I think that sometimes there's an overuse of close-ups because, of course, I totally understand that if you're watching it on your phone, it is so much easier to connect to a story when you're just at least seeing the, on your small screen, the face as big as it can be. But I do know that like because I'm making this movie for a movie theater, some of it is like I get to compose frames like that. But I do think that the fundamentally blocking and then the way they exist in the frame, way they exist in relation to each other, and for us, all of us to feel like we're actually watching them from afar as voyeurs of the conversation. That's actually a way that we can feel more immersed, right? Necessarily, because then you're not just trying to locate yourself in the conversation in a way where you're like being reminded it's a movie, but you're kind of like, no, we're just sitting at the other table, you know.
One thing I love is that New York City in this film feels like a character, in the same way it did in Past Lives.
Yeah.
It's a very present feature of this movie. And obviously you have the Cat Power song with Manhattan at
Yes.
the beginning, which I love.
Yeah.
And the argument in the traffic as well, it just feels very New York.
Yes.
How important was it for you that this story took place in this city?
Well, I think it's very important. I feel like it's a very specific kind of materialism we're talking about. I think like London has its own materialism, right? Or like I'm sure LA has its own, and Houston. So it had to be depicted in the way that is unique to this particular story. But I also like not just New York, but I feel I like metropolises as a site of romance, because I feel like my joke is sometimes that it's like every corner of New York City, every inch of New York City, someone has peed there and someone has kissed there, right? So what's amazing about some of the, especially the outdoor spaces in the film, you're like, well, this is a place that I know that someone has peed there and also kissed there. And knowing that, but for two of them, for John and Lucy, or Harry and Lucy, this has become a special place that is now associated with their own unique experience of love. And I think that to me is like at the heart of the film. Like, you know, there's a reason why the whole movie ends in the marriage bureau, right? I think about this so much because I'm like, well, the movie's called Materialists, and I think about the sort of material representation of like love and relationship and marriage and history. Like if you talk to a historian, the historian will tell you that one of the most reliable records for a historian is the marriage record. So when you go to the New York City city clerk's office, I'm sure you guys have one where you can get married at a city hall. Yeah. So you go and then you look at all the records of the names that are next to each other, right? They all look so equal, but we know that some of those marriages were wonderful. Some of those marriages were abusive and horrible. Some of those marriages began beautifully and then ended badly, or began as practical and then ended as in love. Like, we don't know, but what we know is that those two names are in record. And of course, not to mention queer love, because queer love has no record. But it doesn't mean that what happened between two queer people in history is less significant or less important, or less profound. So I think that I was thinking about the way that marriage is this thing where it's deeply a practical, deeply a practical material. Like, why do you do it? Well, taxes, healthcare, right? Immigration, right? There's so many, such a paperwork's kind of a reason why it's a way for the state to recognize you as a unit. Like, there's so many ways that it is seen as this very material thing, and I think that's quite true. But what happens between two people, right? Like, it's the way that the film begins with the cave people falling in love. We know that those stone tools traveled. We have a record of those stone tools travel, but we don't have the record of that little flower ring. We don't have a record of what passed between these two people. So I think, to me, it's like the duality of that, which I think is it is a continuation of what I was making a movie about in Past Lives too, because it's also about, if you think about in Past Lives, inyan, right? The thing about inyan is it's about a thing that has no shape, that has no material impact on your life. Inyan is just something that we feel. That's it, right? But then of course there is the reality of soul in New York, the marriage, right? So I think that the kind of the contradiction of how our lives are both completely material, is made up of material things, and also that it's totally a spiritual made up of human feelings. I think that is a theme that I think I would say, if you ask me what is a theme that's run between those two films, my only two films, but my two films, I would say I think that is something that always really interests me.
You've got such an amazing cast in this film, and I was wondering, as a writer, and they do so well in this film. You obviously write incredibly personally from the films you direct. When you give that role to someone, do you also feel like you're giving that role away to them and it's now theirs to run with it? Do you ever write with a specific actor in mind? How's your relationship with almost like handing over that role as a director and writer?
Well, I think that I write without actors in mind, and then I go out as if I'm a matchmaker into the world looking for the character's soulmates. And with all three of them, because of past lives, I got to meet them because they've seen the movie, they want to meet me. So we were just meeting in like kind of a casual way. And I think in all three of their cases, at some point in our conversation that were about something else like love and life, I think that I just had a feeling, I think you're the soulmate of Lucy, John, or Harry. And I think that, and then I would be like, I think you're a soulmate of this character. Would you read the script? And just like all love relationship, all three of them, of course, saw the characters and they fell in love with it, right? And I think that, the thing about the three actors is that they really understand the central theme of the film, which is the most important line in the film is, I'm not merchandise, I'm a person. I think that the three of them really understand that in this movie called Materialists, because all three of them have been treated as merchandise before. Because of their careers. So I feel like they understood the feeling of like, no, I'm not merchandise, I'm a person. So my relationship to them is a relationship between two people more than anything, right? And as for giving it away, I think that I wouldn't really want to describe it as giving it away, but that now we get to share. Now we get to be in love with the same character together.
All the time we have for with a lot of
Thank
questions,
you.
but congratulations on the movie again.
Thank you so much.
And what a delight she was.
Smart, intelligent, just lovely, kind.
Yes.
How frustrating to be so talented and smart and brilliant. Am I going first?
Please do, Carrie.
So
take it away. So we saw this. Sorry, we saw this separately. I saw it about a month before you, so we were a little bit in different sort of freshness on the film. But take it away.
So Celine Song, I loved Past Lives. I loved the way she wrote about love and identity, and that being a story about sort of, you're coming from a different country and how that affects your entire perspective of your relationship and your love life. And I was really, really looking forward to seeing what Celine Song would do next, knowing that it's about love for people not necessarily in their 20s. It's like that next generation of love, and this very much sits within that. I think she continues to write about love in a way that is just very mature and striking and clarifying, and I find that really refreshing, and I find everything she has to say about love really, really interesting and thought-provoking. The dialogue style of this film, especially when compared to Past Lives, I was taken back slightly when the film started, in that it's not what I would describe as naturalistic dialogue. I wouldn't say this is exactly how people talk in the real life, and that maybe slightly annoys you slightly because you're like, this doesn't feel like a real conversation. But I think initially I was like, I don't think that's what Celine Song's trying to do. I still think she loves to put her characters on either side of a frame in one long continuous shot and have them talk to each other. And just like Past Lives, what isn't said and the pauses between each word are just as important as what is said. And I think all of that is really interesting. I really want to show it to my girlfriend and have her watch it. I want to unpack it with her. And I think this whole idea of, removing a sense of identity from the person, and this time trying to understand what are the material elements of a person and in a relationship that make that matter. And I think as people do get older, sadly, you become so much more aware, and you're de-romanticized from the love version of what you thought was love in your 20s. You become very cynical and jaded, and I really like Dakota Johnson's character arc in this, and I think it's one of the best performances I've seen of Dakota Johnson. I think she's really come alive in this. She speaks very slowly. The dialogue style lends itself to sort of taking your time, and the film is very, very suave, and it really slows itself down. And I think I was a little bit thrown by how slow the pace is, and I'll get onto this point later about what I think your initial impressions with the film were, but something about the poster and the cast and the lighting, I thought, is this like a plucky rom-com set in New York? And I know Celine Song in our interview,
that was interesting hearing her say that. I really didn't expect her to do that.
Exactly, like she described it as a rom-com, and I don't think I ever felt the com. It maybe has a couple of chuckles, but to me this is like a thought-provoking romance film. And I think because this wants to deal with like actually quite thought-provoking and interesting conversations about material elements of people's personality, I think it just threw me slightly. And, you know, I think maybe if you're the type of person that sees that poster and that cast, which isn't a problem for me, if you go in thinking you're going to get some plucky, zesty, bubbly rom-com, I worry some audience members might be a little bit disappointed. I think people who are listening to this podcast, or like you and me, we know it's Celine Song's second film. It's going to be something a little bit different. It's just a lot slower. I wonder if people might be like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. Maybe it was a bit boring.
No, I agree. I think it's kind of advertised as like a Nora Ephron kind of movie, when it or even a Nancy Meyers kind of movie, and it's not like that. I love the poster, the way it looks, but it's actually slightly misleading and
it also has that like rom-com familiar escape fantasy of like you've been plucked by someone very wealthy and you get to experience like the gorgeous apartment, the Pretty Woman
the princess factor.
I really like all the dialogue scenes, especially between Pedro Pascal and Dakota Johnson. Like you could think of that character being quite one note, and actually I think there's so much more going on between them. Similarly, Chris Evans, I think, is really great in this, doing something different for him. And I think coming out of his Captain America years, it's nice to see him out of Red One. And what was the other one he did that was really anyway, Chris Evans is a great actor, and he's great in this. I think she was so lucky to get a really great cast. I do think the film is just like, it's wonderful, poetic, thought-provoking. I think plot-wise, it is slow, and I did find there's a certain meandering quality to it in the third act, where two characters, I think, go off and do this big sideways move. And for me, I figured out the moral of this film about 25 minutes in, and that's okay, but I felt like I was watching now the other characters figure that out very slowly. So I'd figured the film out and the moral message and what we do with love and what we should look at in people. And I feel like the film was then sort of taking its time to get there. So on that, plot-wise, it's no way near as, I think, complete and as definitive as a film like Past Lives. But I do really like the way Celine Song writes about love. I find her really enticing, and I found the film really engaging. And I thought it was a great time.
So I'm a little cooler on the movie than you, but not without celebrating some of its merits. I will begin by first saying that the actor who plays Tag, who plays Rachel's boyfriend in
Eddie
Friends,
Cahill,
is in that, and I was like, "That's Tag."
Still looks great.
He still looks great. He
still
does it
looks
very
healthy
good,
and
and
well.
still wants an age gap in his relationships. So I love the way this film unpacks the transactional nature of relationships, the commodification of love, the effect that consumer capitalism has had in distorting the role of marriage in society and in our lives. And I think some of its dialogue is very smart and well observed and witty, and you want to kind of print it out and go, oh, that's a great little line. But equally, I often found, and you kind of touched on this when you're talking about characters not having naturalistic kind of dialogue with each other, it is also a film where people will sit and pontificate about the transactional nature of relationships, the commodification of love, and the effect of consumer capitalism on marriage. And I think that for a film that is about relationships and people talking together, I don't mind people having grand conversations about things. It's quite intellectually stimulating. But I think particularly for a film about love, I just missed a little spark. I just missed a little chemistry to keep me hooked in. Hey, look, I don't mind people talking about big things like I love the Before trilogy. That's all they do. Yeah. But there's a tension. There's a chemistry there, and there were just a few times that I was aware that because this film looks so good, it's directed by Celine Song. It looks gorgeous. It's got 3 attractive leads in it. Gorgeous. It's dripping in wealth, right? It's aspirational. I was getting slightly hoodwinked into thinking what I'm getting is a really exciting piece of chemistry. But the longer the film went on, the more kind of the glossiness kind of peeled away, and I thought I just am missing a little bit of light to kind of set this thing on fire. So there were times when I was enthralled in the conversations, but then there were other times I thought, oh, this is dragging a little bit here. It makes a turn in the second half to deal with something a little bit more serious, which I both found interesting and thanked the film for taking a sort of journey in that direction, but then I also found it also slightly misplaced. And I think in general, I think there's a kind of searching uncertainty with the film, which is not a problem in all moments because the film is exploring an idea. But there are moments where I thought, how do you actually feel this about this? How are you actually sorting this? And I think a good example is the poster. I look at that poster and I see a film that's uncertain of how to talk about itself. We're not just talking about the marketing here. The whole time in the film, I was thinking, how are you talking about yourself? And you look at that poster, I'm looking at the three of them and their expressions. I'm like, what are you conveying? What is the emotion that's on your face?
To me, it's plucky rom-com.
I think it's too serious to be a happy rom-com, but it's too aloof to be a drama. And I kind of think that's inherent in the film. There's a bit of a tonal imbalance here, and I don't. In searching this territory, I don't think she actually draws to a conclusion. I think the crucial thing is just missing a little bit of chemistry here. I'm still jury's out on Dakota Johnson. I don't think she's a bad actor, but I wasn't kind of won by her performance. Actually, of the three of them, the only actor that stood out was Chris Evans. There was two scenes towards the end where he did some line delivery, and I thought, that's something I've not seen from you before. Right. And I liked that. I kind of leaned into it. Everything else was very beautiful, sincere, but a little searchy, a little pondering, a little explorative. And it's not that I need a nuts and bolts conclusion to everything, and I need a meaning to be taped down to something. We talked about in our spoiler review of Weapons from last week about how we were frustrated about how people have applied a meaning onto something or desperately trying to rationalize and search for something. But I feel like for all the ingredients that are in this film, this should be like a whip sharp, really smart. I'd love to come out and go, oh, that was just pin sharp. That really, hit the nail on the head. It's like I don't think you've seen like broadcast news or something like that, like James L. Brooks comedies. Like, I go, oh, that's just really well observed. And instead, I found it a lot more soft around the edges, explorative. It
does kind of end.
Yeah, it just kind of
ends.
And I almost felt like as I was watching the film was searching for itself and occasionally finding itself. It's not that I didn't think that moments are bad. I came away thinking there's still some ingredients there, and I would happily listen to Celine Song explore this world forever. And God knows, coming off the back of something like Past Lives, which was a huge success, you're then given, more money, more budget, bigger stars, and told, let's get a film out of you and let's get an idea. And I kind of feel like that. I feel like this is it's close to being something, but not quite. I'm probably repeating myself a little bit there, but it's not bad. I like parts of it, but some of it left me cold.
So my favorite bits, I think, were like seeing Pedro and Dakota have their long conversations. In another film, almost like that relationship could be very one note and brushed aside, but there was a wonderful added layer of complexity to it. Although I agree, it is very suave, and I think the first time you see Pedro Pascal, it almost feels like he like swoons through the room shaking everyone's hand, and he's like dressed like James Bond, and like it's almost not a real character. But I did appreciate it for taking its time, and I did find it very thought-provoking. I totally agree on I said this, like I figured it out 25 minutes in, and then I sort of waited for it. But
I'm shocker. Perfect isn't perfect.
I
got that. Yeah.
She made a comment in the interview about like different ways you experience wealth in a city, or just the way people experience city. And she said on every corner of New York City, someone's peed and had their first kiss there, and that's like a real wonderful like note about New York. And there's some great like argument scenes with Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans as flashbacks, which I quite enjoyed. But yeah, I found it very thought provoking. I think it's slow. And I worry about some people having the wrong impression of it. And I wouldn't say necessarily wrong to think that. But I think if you go in and you think, just adjust your expectations for what kind of film you've got.
Yeah, it's quite singular actually in its approach, as it doesn't really fit in a... We didn't have time for this, but one of the questions I wanted to ask Celine was like, did you feel a pressure, either internally or externally, to make your film adhere to genre conventions, genre tropes? Because from the outside, before I saw the movie, it felt like the marketing was trying to, as we touched upon, shape this into a film that it isn't. But that's why I was quite surprised to hear her call it a rom-com.
Yeah.
I was almost like, has this become a feedback loop where she's...
Said it as a rom-com.
Or hearing, she's absorbed the marketing and is now seeing it as a rom-com, but...
I'd like to now rewatch the trailer because I've not actually interacted with the marketing since. It's more that since I've seen it, I'm like, oh, like, what was this film trying to be? I don't think that's really her fault.
No, it's not. It's not a bad movie. And some good moments in there. I just...
things like when Chris Evans first comes in And it's like, oh, I'm out of rum and coke, and like the coke and the rum comes down. And who is it? It's Chris Evans, her ex, who happens to be there. Like, that is a bit silly and unrealistic.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think the film needed to pick. But you decide: do you want to be playful like that, or do you want to go to serious like you do in the second half?
And just on your comment on the turn that the film makes, in sort of and the decision it makes to do that, I also found that potentially quite a big topic to unpack. But I was also, and I guess this is we won't spoil the film, so I won't spoil it. But I was wondering if Celine Song wanted to have what is an example of where if you really miscalculate people for the wrong material goods, how badly can you misunderstand a person's intentions? While I think that is a big one to drop for the second half of the film, which we won't go into, I think that's what she was trying to see. That her perspective has been so wrong. Look how badly she hurt someone because of those actions. It's kind of thought provoking.
Yeah. So I think I've said what I've said. I found the film to be searching for itself. I found the film to be searching for its idea instead of actually having a conclusive point to make.
In a way that Past Lives really hung on its ending. The reuniting of those two. And they're different films, but in a way that, like, I think you knew that there was an unspoken love in Past Lives, and the final scene of Past Lives is definitive, and you're waiting for the end of it. This film, for me, I think, didn't have a way to properly end itself. I think it has a little bit of a time cut, and a moment that sort of ties a little bit of a bow, but the second half does meander. And that whole moment where two characters go off somewhere physically and literally for the plot, I was like, this is explorative. I agree. It is trying to find itself there. It's not as cohesive and as compact and as tight and definitive as Past Lives.
Which is fine, because not everyone can make Past Lives every time.
And also interesting thing about, like, when you get into your 30s, the disparity of success and wealth, that void becomes further and further for different people. And it's not just career success. It's like who inherited the most, who got the biggest apartment, are you now hanging out with different friends because you're at a club, and like how you value that in a person. And someone who marries someone really wealthy all of a sudden is in like a completely different circle of friends. That's maybe a little bit underexplored in like modern New York. Love in New York already, high net worth individuals, very expensive city, very exclusive place to live.
I do find it quite funny when you cast someone like Chris Evans to play a down on his luck actor. And I'm like, it's like my mind's going, but that's one of the biggest A-list actors on the planet. And you're telling me that he's struggling to get theatre parts in off Broadway.
And it is like crappy little apartment with the gross sink and the hair.
So Meredith has written in about Materialists and says, hi, George and James and George. It's also worth saying that this movie came out 2 months ago in the US. So some of these emails have kind of sat with us for a bit frustrating.
One of those annoying times where that happens.
I think it's generally due to Pedro's maybe marketing availability, and they were like, we can push it in June. We can get him for publicity if we do an American release in June.
That has to be what it is.
Yeah,
because he's in everything.
He is, and he's in Eddington, and he's in in
I saw a trailer for Eddington in my what's-face screening.
Meredith writes in about the Materialists rather, but you've put the Materialists. But I saw a screening of Materialists last night. I wanted to write to both tell you it was a complete miss. There are some spoilers in Meredith's review, so I'm going to just skip over those. Don't worry. The trailer is completely misleading to what actually happens in this movie. This movie covers some very serious things about halfway through, and took a bit of a somber turn. I have trouble describing how I feel about Dakota Johnson's performance. Her character, Lucy, read as a very millennial, vocal fry, one-dimensional person. I'm guessing that was Celine Song's idea here, but when Lucy was listening to Chris Evans talk about something, she looked like a robot. No emotional depth at all. And all the scenes with her consulting with clients, she really seemed heartless, although she apparently felt something. It was all very strange to me, particularly the something. Also the fact that something. In my opinion, this movie was marketed like a new age Nancy Meyers film.
When in
reality, I think all of the characters lacked any depth. Not to mention, apparently, Lucy makes $80K a year in New York and can afford to live by herself, i.e. not possible. This film was simply out of touch with reality. Hope you're all doing well and enjoyed this film more than I did. Meredith from North Carolina. I removed my email signature from this email because I was so embarrassed when you read it out on the podcast.
Sorry, you go.
Well, I was just going to say, I do think the scenes of chemistry are more present with her and Chris Evans than her and Pedro. I still think they needed a little lift here. Sweep us up with it. I don't want to feel like you want with a romance film, you want to feel like there are a couple on the table next to you that you can't take your eyes off of because they're really interesting. I felt more like I was sat at their table and then they weren't talking to me. You know, it was that kind of slight distinction.
So I agree with Meredith on like the comments you make about Dakota Johnson's character. What separates this from like a plucky rom-com is that I really enjoy that I didn't like her character. She's really surface and material and selfish. It's immediately obvious to me that by obligation of her occupation, has to now see people through this horribly surface lens. And I think it all like is a bit of a comeuppance for her. And I quite enjoyed her navigating the world in a very incorrect way. And sometimes it worked.
Can I be a bit harsh now on the film? Just whilst we're talking about it. Do you not think some of it's just like, you know, like maybe materialism isn't that great?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I knew that. I think we all knew that.
Yeah. In like a modern...
Materialism. Bad, man. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
got
but
that.
like a commentary on our modern elitist world.
Yeah.
Like
but it's
framing
like
it
Dakota
through
Johnson's character is
high net
almost
worth.
like shocked to find that, and people are like, oh, maybe if it's not about their material possessions. And I'm like, because we all have seen rom-coms before. We know where this is going.
But a lot of people do choose that. And a lot of people will be doing these dating sites and they'll want a woman who's younger and a man who's rich.
Now we talk about it. It's like I almost wanted the film to be darker and sharper or lighter and pluckier. And I'm stuck in this middle ground where it kind of pulls its punches in some areas. And but again, I could sit and watch a Celine Song movie all day of the week, every day of the week.
This next one's from Caitlin, who says, "Hi chaps, have either of you caught Materialists? I know you both love Past Lives brackets, which I confess I haven't seen at this point. Feels like scheduling a time to cry, but I do want to see it and will eventually. You should definitely go see it." From seeing the general feeling on social media and talking to a few friends who have seen it, I know most people are lukewarm or didn't like it. I wonder if lots of people went in with too high expectations, especially after Past Lives. For me, it was almost exactly what I expected and really enjoyed it. I thought all three of the main actors did a great job and the style of it was beautiful. It is beautifully shot.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, lovely.
I walked out of the cinema knowing what people are ignoring or forgetting in their criticism, and that's bugged me. I won't give any spoilers, but it's giving how everyone loves to go on about how in Greece, Sandy puts the leather pants and curls in her hair to get Danny back, and everyone completely ignores how he tried all the different sports to become a jock to get her back. They both change for each other. And with that, are there any other movie opinions you have or movies that you like that a lot of people seem to disagree? What hill are you dying on? Thank you. Loving the podcast. Caitlin from Sydney, Australia.
Well, we've had lots.
We
it's like
took
our
on
hot
to that
takes.
quite a lot.
Yeah, our unpopular opinions, like the
we've done quite a
flashes.
few.
It was great.
Listen to the show and you'll get
come by
many
each
of those.
week.
Again about expectations, high or low. I think I'd already known that some people weren't like gaga over Materialists. I think you were sort of giving a nudge that you were lukewarm on it.
Yeah, I'm nervous to watch it with Anna because I think I'm worried that she'll be harsher on it than I am, and it'll bring my opinion down a bit.
Oh, fine.
At the moment, like I'm kind of sitting in this middle ground, but I wouldn't be surprised if I don't want to speak for her, but she might say that was incredibly drawn out and boring.
Yeah,
and dry.
Fine.
Mia writes in and says, "Dear James and George and James, long-time listener, Patreon member, and first-time emailer. I'm writing in this fresh out of an early screening of Materialists, and a film I really wanted to like. I'm a fan of all three lead actors, which made it all the more disappointing that I found myself watching the clock well before it ended. To its credit, the acting was strong. Chris Evans stood out in particular, I agree. He played a struggling broke actor with real depth and real believability, but Pedro Pascal's character felt flat to me. He didn't seem to have a personality beyond rich, and I kept hoping the script would give him something more to work with. I do also think that's a problem when Pedro Pascal is one of the most charismatic like individuals off camera. He's got great personality off screen, and every time I see him in something, he's kind of, with the exception of like Reed Richards at the moment, but like Last of Us and this, he's kind of dullified a little bit.
So I don't think so in this. I thought it was interesting. I think like originally he surfaced, but like there's a lot of complexity. I think like there's that one conversation in the restaurant where I feel like he is a lot sharper and more switched on than I think she originally gave him credit for. And I think he is more interesting than that.
I think he's like interesting on paper, like, oh yes, I can understand why this man has depth. But
he
I
never
also
felt like a real person. I will agree with that. I think the film was always trying to put him as a fantasy. He's a unicorn. He's described as a unicorn person.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not meant to be a real person. Gorgeous apartment, by the way. Oh my god.
Yeah, great bookcase.
Great bookcase, yeah.
What threw me most was the inconsistency in the main character's motivations. At times, Lucy's insisted money didn't matter, and at others she seemed to base her entire worldview around it. I understand the film is trying to explore contradictions and match the film's title, but it felt more muddled than intentional by the end. That's kind of how I feel, more muddled than intentional. I'd love to hear how you both felt. Was I missing something, or were you just as unsure? Thanks as always for the pod. Your conversations always make me think and laugh, even when the films don't quite land. Best, Mia. In a way, it's like, to be honest, after we've talked about it sort of ad nauseum, it's over to you guys now. Go and see and kind of make up your own mind.
I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I just think I probably enjoyed it more.
That's yeah.
You know, this might be a spoiler. You know what? Ignore it. I'll tell you off camera.
Okay.
Because I think it is a spoiler. Yeah, I'll tell you off camera.
Yeah, you guys will get the off camera chat.
If there's loads of interest, we'll do a spoiler cast.
The off camera chats have a subscriber of 2 people. It's me and James.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, if you had thoughts of Materialists, maybe you can weigh in on your thoughts. Please, as always, send them into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com and we will read them out on a future episode of the show. George, should we go through some of the emails that we get sent into the show every single week? As always, guys, if you want to send in your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, your reviews, you can, of course, send them in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com.
That's right.
This first one is from, or you can support us at the VIP tier on Patreon and have priority access to have your email read out on the show. And you can also check out Double Take and you can get this podcast ad free. And you can get 48 hours early access when we do live shows.
Jolly good laugh
200.
over there.
This one's from Marcus. He says, Weapons. Hi, guys. I was at the same early screening of Weapons as George. Spotted you on the way in.
Oh,
did you meet Marcus?
I did not. He must have just seen me.
Yeah,
and
it happens. Sometimes
me,
people
watched
see
me.
us and they go, "I was at that screening. I saw you."
Marcus, feel free to come over and say
always,
hello next
always
time.
Come and say
I will never ignore.
Spotted you on the way in and haven't had a cinema experience in a long time with such contrast in crowd reactions. So wanted to share a few thoughts. Go and check out our Weapons review from last week if you haven't already. And Spoilercast. Firstly, I loved Weapons. The genuine collective gasps of fear during those tense, frightening moments and then the roars of laughter at the comedic relief made this such an enjoyable experience. You made a good point in the Weapons spoiler-free review that horror audiences can often be louder and more disruptive when talking for ages before and after a predictable jump scare in tense moments that should be enjoyed in silence. I completely agree that Weapons demands a certain level of concentration as we are given important context and story building in the opening 5 minutes, so found the audience very well behaved. Would have liked them to expand a bit on and what led the especially in my top 3 films of the year and best jump scare in years. Yeah. Keep up the good work. Marcus.
Thank you, Marcus. This next email is from Ryan, who writes in about Weapons and The Naked Gun, both of which we reviewed last week. Hello, guys. Hope you've been well. Been a while since I emailed, but I've just got back from seeing Weapons, and I had to write in. I was really anticipating this film due to all the talk around it, and the hype seemed to grow more and more closer to release. I avoided as much trailers and spoilers as possible, and it was so worth it. I thought this film was fantastic, and possibly one of the most insane films I've seen in the latter half. I loved how Zach Cregger set it out with seeing everyone's perspectives, allowing the audience to gather little bits of information to try and guess at what has happened.
An onion film, I described it in the spoiler cast.
I didn't manage to guess what was going to happen because it was so wild. This film is swimming in great performances and an amazing directive style. By the way, I saw a clip of, there's a bit where someone is kind of chased around a petrol station. In the inside of a petrol station, the shop, and they filmed that. The guy was using rollerblades to go around.
It's common. They put people on. Usually, if you lay a track, but it's less practical sometimes to be on a track because the track will be in the shot if you want to point the direction you're going. So they use electric skateboards where they control it, or one wheels. You know what a one wheel is? Often these are like skateboards and like toys that actually make for very good sliding things. It's very, very funny. It's perfectly smooth because it's like a skateboard.
Off the back of Barbarian, Zach has added himself. Oh, sorry, first time basis for Zach Cregger. Zach has added himself to a list of directors that has me excited to see what they're going to do next. However, this film does fall into the usual horror trope where the although I enjoyed it where it went, it was taken so much further than I thought it was going to be. Next, The Naked Gun. I'll start by saying I haven't seen any of the originals, but I have seen a lot of clips on social media through the years. This had me a bit worried that I wouldn't get any of the references, but that wasn't an issue, and I truly loved this film. I was laughing constantly throughout, as pretty much every joke landed for me, and the performances were excellent. I think the movies are really missing having a comedy. I think the movies are really missing having comedy in the cinema, and I hope this is a return to form for the genre. I actually laughed. We love The Naked Gun. We talked about this last week. Had a good time. I actually laughed more deeper and more expressively in Weapons than I did in The Naked Gun.
When we put up our clip of our positive review of Naked Gun online, a lot of comments were like, "It's so wrong." They basically really disagree with us. Like, it's terrible. It's so unfunny.
What?
Yeah, which I thought was strange. I mean, I guess some comments, not all comments. But I don't think everyone's like loved it in the way that
I thought it was
thought it was really
universal.
great. I totally agree. I think a lot of people are like, oh, of course you guys like it, or wasn't funny at all.
I think people love to say they didn't find something funny because it makes them feel like they're so smart.
Yeah.
Just
And it's dumb humor inherently, isn't it? Which isn't stupid. It's just it's dumb humor.
People like that can just do one. Finally, I'd like to give a super quick July rundown as I never got through to emailing. Superman, more of a comic book come to life, which is a nice change for me, really. Really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see where it goes. DC follows on from... I hope to see how DC follows on from this. Fantastic Four, super refreshing for Marvel, and I'm falling for the whole Marvelous backtrope. I'm back on the bandwagon and just really hope that Spider-Man lands and Doomsday ultimately works, but we'll see. I Know What You Did Last Summer, enjoyable, and just what I expected from an easy to watch film. Ending was terrible though. Cheers, guys, and all the best.
What just interesting on, like I said this to you earlier today, and I think we'll cover it on Double Take maybe, but like it's on the MCU, seeing Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four both critically do well, not necessarily with us for Thunderbolts, but like, they both critically done well, but I don't think either of them have performed commercially well enough.
No.
Which I think is a bit of like a damning indictment on the MCU at the moment in terms of like, even if the films are being, because they might say, oh, we made the films better.
Yeah.
The critics like them now, but people aren't going to see them.
But also, isn't it a bit of a... Kevin Feige must be a bit mad because it's like... It's not like Superman was a flop.
No.
So they can't say, well, it's all comic book movies. It's like, no, it's just your movies.
Your movies. I'm kind of starting to feel that superhero fatigue isn't real. It's bad film fatigue in the superhero genre.
I think it's also interconnected world fatigue.
Yeah.
The clean
Superman
snatedness of Superman
Yeah.
is what gave it its kind of, we'll see though. Maybe
Even though we knew that Fantastic Four had no homework to do before you went in,
Yeah.
I think people have started to, who aren't as tuned in, they're just like now,
Yeah.
coded to know, oh, it's Marvel. I haven't seen the last 6. What do I need to know? Oh, I won't see it. I'm out. I've lost track. Do you think there's a chance that Doomsday flops or makes 900 million or 800 million, which isn't enough for it to make money?
Which
Sounds crazy, but it'll be a $500 million film.
Too early to tell. It's still
I'm concerned.
16, 18 months away.
I'm concerned the film will be a mess.
Yeah.
Do you know what I was also thinking as well? Again, this is double take conversation, and I know we're going to talk about these films every week till they come out. But in the way that Infinity War just could be payoff because we had a story and it didn't have to like set as much up. It was much more of like the gang coming together, execute. In a lot of ways, Doomsday is both blessed and cursed with the fact that they don't have a story.
Yeah.
It's blessed in the fact that it can actually start again and be a film to set something up, but it's cursed in the sense that it sort of has to do all of that work within the film.
Yes. I know what you mean. It has to do, it's free to do the setup, but the setup it has to do.
Is it going to be a lot of messy setup?
Yeah.
And a lot of plot?
Whereas
I'm worried it's going to be
Infinity
a
War,
mess.
when like the ending of Thor Ragnarok goes straight into
We
it.
were all really in
Yeah.
for Infinity War.
And they didn't waste a minute in that film.
No. Do you know what I mean? I can't tell if it's going to be like the making or the breaking. Stay tuned to Pulp Kitchen at Christmas next year. Ben writes in and says, honeymoon, Glengarry, Glen Ross in New York City. Hi, James and George / George and James. Massive fan of the podcast and have been listening since the early food days. I've been a member on Patreon since day one and I couldn't imagine a life without my weekly dose of Double Take. Oh,
Nice.
Ben, we salute you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your support. I recently got married and my wife and I traveled to New York as part of our honeymoon.
Lovely.
Congratulations. As a film fan, I scoured the list of Broadway plays to find something with some Hollywood talent. That's when I stumbled across Glengarry, Glen Ross starring Kieran Culkin, Bob Odenkirk, Bill Burr, and Michael McKean. I'd never seen the play or the film adaptation, but I took one look at the cast and I was sold. What a cast.
Oh, great cast. Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. Watching actors of this caliber go toe-to-toe with long, fast-paced and tension-filled monologues was a sight to behold. Although there is a tragic undertone to the story, I was surprised by how funny it was. This was definitely aided by Bill Burr, who was a surprising standout and was getting lost with every line of dialogue. Bill Burr, I would say surprisingly good actor, but like a surprisingly good actor in what I've seen him in.
Yeah, that whole remember that
He's
whole
very
episode
talented.
of The Mandalorian?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and in The King of Staten Island.
Oh, yes,
Like,
yes.
Wow. He's good,
that
kind of
movie,
good in
yeah.
everything, Bill Burr. I'm
Yeah.
not surprised. It's just like, he is a comedian, but he's acting very well in everything I've seen him in. Once I returned home from my trip, the first thing I did was watch the 1992 film adaptation and was shocked by how angry and bleak the tone was compared to the play. I enjoyed the film and I think it works much better on stage. This got me thinking, what film would you love to see adapted into a stage play? Ignoring films that are already set in one location and would be easily to adapt. Personally, I think Whiplash would make an amazing play. The setting could switch between Fletcher's classroom and a concert hall with all the music being played by the live actors themselves. Sorry for the long email. Keep up the great work and long live Pulp Kitchen. All the best, Ben from Liverpool. P.S. Whilst on the plane to our honeymoon, I couldn't help but join in on the favourite Pulp Kitchen pastime and check what everyone was watching. The man in front of me decided to watch Bad Boys Ride or Die, brackets Bad Boys 4, and then immediately follow it up with Bad Boys for Life, which is Bad Boys 3. I don't think he had any idea what he'd done, but seemed to be enjoying himself and really made me laugh. Yeah, surprisingly solid film, Bad Boys 4. And we answered this the other day. It's The Prestige.
Yeah, The Prestige would make a great stage production. And actually, I thought about this. September 5 would make a great play. It basically is a play. But like, I can imagine it now with all the monitors, the kind of 70s outlook, like people running, wheeling things on.
And what you see of the stuff going on outside is on the screen. So they could play that and they could react with the audience.
That's a good...
Go and check out our review of September 5.
I would just say I'm very jealous of you going to see that play because that's a great cast. And the film I rewatched a few years ago and I'm just surprised how brilliant it is. Have you seen it?
No.
Get this for a cast, right? Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Jonathan Pryce, Kevin Spacey, Ed Harris, Alec Baldwin.
Titans.
It's just a really great movie. Brilliant. Alec Baldwin has like a big speech at the beginning and then comes in just back at the end. Oh, it's just great. This next email is from Louis. Louis writes in and says, "Hi guys, Louis here from Dublin. I'm writing as I have been listening to your podcast since March after I luckily stumbled across them on Spotify.
Nice.
I've been meaning to write in for a while, but I didn't know what to write about until recently. I think that I'm one of your youngest listeners as I just turned 13 recently.
Oh, nice.
And I also might be one of the few listeners. Sorry, 13 is great. 13 is like we really are in the dawning
kids,
film fans. Get them in, get them hooked. And I also might be one of the few listeners that got a shout out in a film review, as when you reviewed Small Things Like These back in November, you said really nice words about my performance in it. I played so Small Things Like This was the Cillian Murphy movie I reviewed in November. He said I played the younger version of Cillian Murphy's character in it. I do remember you in that, mate. Nice. You were great. Heartbreaking. Nice. Thank you, Louis, for writing in. As for my question, I was wondering if you guys have any tips for young actors starting out in the industry today. I have a good amount of experience working on films, TV shows, and theatre so far, but sometimes I think that I need to be doing more than just working to reach my goals and become a great actor. Well, I will just say on that, like, we're not
actors.
I
wish I could sit here and give you advice.
Should give us advice.
Yeah.
Frankly. Just keep working, be yourself, and go with your gut.
Yeah.
And just consume as much artistic content in film and beyond to cultivate your own artistic taste so that when you come to making artistic decisions, you have a good sense.
And when you do get the opportunity, work really, really hard and rise to the occasion.
That's
the only thing I could say.
Be nice to everyone.
Because I think it can be a thing where young actors are given the opportunity and sometimes they aren't prepared in a way. Because you're essentially going into an adult workplace, which isn't school.
Do what Tom Hanks says. Ready. Turn up on time.
Yeah.
Know your lines.
Be early.
And be early. Be early. Be early. Know your lines.
Yeah.
And be nice to people. A good word goes a long way, but a bad word goes even further.
Other general expressions we can get out that isn't directly advice.
It's not about the size of the fight in the man. Also, I just wanted to mention my top 5 movies of all time. So if you could give your opinions on them. Sure. We'll do a quick fire.
Yeah.
Number 1, Catch Me If You Can.
Great choice.
Love it.
Yeah.
Number 2, Shawshank Redemption.
Great choice.
A perfect movie. Number 3, The Truman Show. One of my favorites. It's fantastic. Yeah. The Social Network.
One of my favorites.
Amazing. Brilliant.
4 for 4.
Back to the Future. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's not my. I am aware that it's a lot of other people's favorite movies.
Yeah,
and we talked about it. And some people say go see the stage show, and some people didn't. Thank you guys for being my favorite podcast to listen to. When I listen, it feels like I'm part of the conversation. Sláinte, Louis.
Thank you so much, Louis, and best of luck with everything. This next one is from Trevor, who writes in about physical media.
Yeah, man.
This is Trevor in LA, friend of the show.
Yeah, man.
I did a bit of a rant about bit rates and resolutions in like 2 episodes ago. You can go and check it out.
It was like your sort of party political broadcast, the elected.
Yeah, it resonated clearly. Sup, dudes? This is one, obviously, for James specifically. I just wanted to welcome you to the world of physical media. I basically had the same journey as you. I bought a new, very nice TV and wanted to experience films to their fullest potential. Funnily enough, the first Blu-ray I bought was in London at the BFI, Villain from 1971, which was not available in the States. You are right. A 4K disc in a 4K player on a quality 4K is the next level. It's also wonderful to talk to someone, and instead of saying, oh, you should watch X sometime, it's on Netflix, you physically hand them an object and say, you need to watch this. The 4K Blu-ray subreddit is one of the most active and passionate I've ever come across. It's a lot of fun and has become one of my favorite hobbies. Some pro tips for you to get started. For the player, just get the Panasonic UB800. I have seen that one listed online. Trevor says it is the best one. It's bulletproof. The visual quality of a 4K disc is incredible, but the real benefit over streaming is the full audio. A great TV is important, but so is the sound. If you don't already, invest in a decent surround system, or at the very least, a soundbar and subwoofer. It makes all the difference. I also have to have some helpful rules to live by to keep your collection small-ish, well-curated, and to save you a lot of money. Number 1. 4K only. Do not buy standard Blu-rays. If something is only available in 1080, difference in quality versus streaming isn't noticeable enough to make a real difference. And those blue boxes are ugly. If something isn't available on 4K, just stream it. I kind of agree with you on the blue. The 4K ones are more like silvery and just black, I think, just more standard. If it's available 4K, just stream it. I think, just to caveat that, I still think with uncompressed or less compressed 1080p Blu-ray, it still looks better than the streaming equivalent at the same resolution.
I just want to say, if I may interject in this point of the story, I rewatched The Shining the other day, and I watched it on BBC iPlayer, and I had to say the quality was very good.
Yeah, I've not watched a film on iPlayer in a while, but
they have a really good selection. I always forget they have a really good carousel, and they had The Shining there, and I thought I'll give this a go, and it was great. Pin sharp.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, iPlayer really used to not run well, and I don't think I watch it that much. Maybe on my TV a little bit, as and when, but that's good to know. And I always have admired. I'll be on there. But like, oh look, like that film is just like on, and you can watch it for free. Rule number 2: classics only. Your instinct is right. Only buy the things you love that you will watch over and over. 4K are expensive. A lot of movies are great, but how often are you watching the Criterion 4K of Come and See you spent £40 on?
Very true.
I kind of agree. It's like it has to be films that I personally want to own to have available to me that therefore I'd want to rewatch.
Yeah.
So if I don't want to rewatch it, it's kind of like, is it just a shelf piece?
You know what?
Is that okay?
I need to put my Criterions out on a shelf.
Oh, you haven't put them out yet?
I haven't, but I need. It's a storage move. I mainly did, but I need to. I'm just like, this email just made me realize that I own some. And that I should probably, if I don't have them out to look at, I won't ever remember to watch them.
Yes, yeah, and you should maybe have them in your entertainment center living room area.
Definitely.
Yeah, because they used to be in your other bedroom, didn't they? In your old flat.
And do you know what's sad about it is that the sun in my old flat was very severe and faded them, and even on my wonderful before trilogy Criterion, it's slightly faded. Sun-kissed, we could say. But it did bleed them a little bit.
At Talia's spot in Cape Town, they've got DVDs that are in the sun, and all of them have this like faded blue hue to them. I'm like, why do they all look blue? And it's because they've just been sitting in the sun.
Wow.
And the sun would shine in. Sorry, really random. Number 3, no blind buys. There is a real motivation in the physical media community to buy absolutely everything. You don't need Madam Web. I don't think that was going to happen. But if you do that, eventually your flat will look like a fucking GameStop, to quote the king of physical media, Tracy Letts, who's got 10,000 plus DVDs. That said, blind buys are always accepted as gifts. That's how I saw Perfect Days, a perfect movie just like Midnight in Paris. Number 4.
He's got an angry face.
Yeah, angry face, yeah. Number 4, rules are made to be broken, like that. Welcome. Be sure to post your stack on Instagram. P.S. Here's a wonderful interview with Tracy Letts about his physical media collection. Oh, that's really nice. I might check that out. Yes, I've seen the sort of like nerdscape film reviewers where it's like an endless void of DVDs and
like
Blu-rays.
Closet,
kind of like a point of pride for them to be like, but look at all the films I own. I really don't want that. I'm in my mind's eye, because I'm going to buy these slowly, because obviously it's like some of them are like 30 quid a pop. In my mind's eye, it's a shelf unit, half a meter wide at its maximum. That has a selection of, 20 to 30?
Yeah, there's a discretion to it.
And I agree on the 4K thing mostly in principle, in that like I will want to watch that film because the 4K copy is good. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
That's
and also,
what I'm saying with it. Maybe like check back in like a year and a half and I'll do a shelf review. I'll run through what I got.
Yes.
But I'll acquire these things slowly. Thank you, Trevor.
Sorry, I think if you have too much in your apartment, flat, wherever, home, and it's like wall to wall, I can smell the links. It smells like a game, or as a GameStop. You know what I mean? Like it smells like a boy's basement.
Yeah,
like it's not good. You don't want that. You want to.
There are lovely like chic steelbook collector's editions. In my mind's eye, they'd all be like these lovely with beautiful like matte art and a sleeve.
What I mean is like if you have a wall to, if you have it surround, for me it's I see that as unbridled male ego. something needs to keep that in check a little bit. You don't need it all, mate. Bring it in.
I'd also like to I wouldn't like it to be that shelf, and then there's other movies. It's all just like cinema. Like I'd like to have some music, some books. It's like a mishmash
on the bookcase from Materialists.
Oh god, yeah, that bookcase. I was looking into how to do that. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
George, nice things cost money.
That's what I know, sadly.
That's what I've learned.
But the best things in life are free.
There you go. Lessons for Louis
there. Hi, George and James, James and George. This next email is from Silas, who writes in with an interesting suggestion for a perfect movie. Yeah. Hi, George and James, James and George, George and James, James and George. My name is Silas, and I hail from, I thought you said I hate, Seville, Spain. I hail from Seville in Spain. I heard your podcast from my older brother, Gideon, whose comment, I think we read out one of Gideon's emails recently, didn't we? Whose comment you may recall from the most recent episode. And I absolutely love you guys. But anyway, back to the task at hand. I'm writing about the perfect movie series. I understand I'm late to the game, but I think my opinion should be heard. And please share whatever opinions you may have. And George, if you'd like to give us another pizza as a perfect food analogy, please do. Guys, I don't know what I say. Is it funny when people say this back to us?
Food brings us a lot of clarity. We're talking about films.
In the first episode, you guys said that Toy Story 2 is the only perfect animation, but I do not concur. After much thought and contemplation, Megamind is an absolutely perfect movie. If we remember what you said, James, I believe it was, a perfect movie has to hit you in the heart.
That was George who said that. It was George who said that.
And what movie does that better than Megamind?
Wait, read out. Has to hit you in the heart, the funny bone, the mind.
So a perfect movie has to hit you in the heart, the funny bone, and the mind. No, the heart, the groin, and the for lack of a better term, and the mind. So it's got to arouse you, move you, and intellectually stimulate you. And what movie does that better than Megamind? It includes the perfect hero's villain story where the newly victorious villain finds his hopelessly dull life as he no longer has a purpose due to the fact that his purpose is to oppose. But there is no longer any good to oppose, to the point that he creates what he once despised, only to have it hilariously blown up in his face. There's no punctuation here. Forcing him to become the hero of his story and completely changing the course of his life. It's truly thought-provoking if you give it the necessary time, and also absolutely gut-bustingly hilarious if you don't have time, and yet it's incredibly heartfelt. The movie is incredible, and if you take the time to read this painstakingly long email, I can't see how you could disagree. But please, prove me wrong. Megamind.
Do you remember that from 2009 to 2014, if you bought a TV, it was a 3D TV, and you couldn't really not buy a 3D TV. Do you remember that period?
No, I don't actually. No.
Do you remember when 3D TVs were like ubiquitous?
I think I've forgotten if they are. The idea of a 3D TV actually, I think I've forgotten that was a thing.
Oh my god,
a 3D
We've spoken
TV
about this. Yeah,
a 3D TV that you put glasses on.
Come on, you know this was a thing.
If I have, it's in a data drive in my mind.
I think there's a 5-year period where like when 3D movies were really big, and the 3D thing at home was being really big to sell you on a TV. And even if you were just buying a TV, it basically was 3D. And there was a TV that we bought that I think is now in like my parents' bedroom that was a 3D TV, and you got 2 3D glasses with it, like the digital ones. And it came with a Blu-ray of Megamind 3D. And I remember I would watch that in 3D. And it was terribly antisocial because there were only 2 sets of glasses and we were never going to buy more. But if you're watching in 3D, it was like, you got to have your glasses.
Was it fun in 3D, in a 3D TV?
To have a 3D TV? It's fine. I don't think it was good enough, the 3D. I played Uncharted 3 in 3D and it made me feel a bit sick.
When he's falling out the plane?
That's one, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that was a 3D game. So that came out in 2011. That was like peak 3D. And if you had I did have a 3D TV, so I was like, oh my God. And the PlayStation 3 was able to do 3D. And I was like, fuck, I'll try it out.
I went to see Megamind with a friend of mine who, one of my best mates, but it was the first time I went to cinema on my own with a girl. Not that it was like that, but I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to cinema with a girl because I'm all grown up. What are we going to see? Megamind. Yeah. That's the only reason I remember that movie. Yeah. Brad Pitt plays a voice in that.
I took a girl to see Drillbit Taylor.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. And Ratatouille.
Oh my God. Yeah, I actually went on a double date to see Flushed Away when I was in year 8.
Nice.
Awful day.
Ratatouille was a double date.
That's a nicer movie. That's a good movie to go to. By the way, I think with on Silas's point of confusing us,
sorry,
I think that
again,
when episode 200 comes around in the live event, I want to know if there are people in the audience going, huh,
right, hang on. Hands up who thinks I'm George.
Yeah.
And then we just go, right, you, out.
Couple more emails.
You know what we never do, which a lot of podcasts do? They intro the show and go, hi, I'm James Briefel. And you'd go, hi, I'm George Pundit.
I thought you didn't like that. Too broadcasty.
It is a bit broadcasty, but like we don't do that.
bit broadcast.
But we don't do that. That might actually help if over 200 episodes we said, and I'm James Briefel.
Yeah. We can do. Yeah, we do still sound the same. You're right. And maybe we should say each other's name more, James.
George. That's a good idea. The next one is from Ross, who writes in, cinema re-releases. Hello, George and James and George. I've been listening for the last year or so and really enjoy listening to your thoughts on all things film. Car horns on our end. I live in Scotland and do hold a Limitless card for the cinema in my town, which means I will go and see everything that's usually on the back of listening to your thoughts and seeing how me and my friends' opinions align with you boys. Safe to say, we all came out of the same film with different opinions, which make for great chats post-film. We recently went to a screening of The Goonies, and I was completely shocked on how full the screen was compared to some of the screenings of the most recent films that are out at the moment: Fantastic Four, Superman, Jurassic World. I was surprised those would be pretty full.
Yeah.
Is this something you've experienced? Are people more likely to see a film they know they like but want to see on the big screen, even when they could watch at home, than the newest films that have just released? We have booked an IMAX screening of Jaws at the end of the month, and interested to see what the turnout will be for that screening is. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks, Ross. Those will be full because there's only one or very few screenings. Yeah, Superman, everyone all over on thousands of screens is seeing it.
One every hour, isn't it, in some places?
Yeah. So it's all sort of spread out. But for the Interstellar 10th that I went to, that was jam-packed. Also, it's like an IMAX. It's like a big film. TikTok has happened since that film came out, and everyone's like re-loving it. People are no longer criticizing Interstellar in the way they were 3 years from it having came out. People are like just there to love it.
Last email from today is from Finn. Finn writes in and says, hi, you guys. Inspired by an email from the Bring Her Back episode, I want to quickly throw in another movie with impeccable style. The outfits in The Harder They Fall, a Western from James Samuel, looks so good. It's obviously nothing I would wear in day-to-day life, but the modernized Western looks have beautiful colors, textures, and are perfectly layered. Check it out if you haven't already. Now for my question. In my next seminar at uni, I'll take a class about architecture in movies. So I wanted to ask you guys, especially George, if you have any movies that stand out because of its architecture. The Brutalists might be an obvious one, but if there are any others that are not specifically following architects. Thanks for all the great episodes. With love from Switzerland. Finn. Yes, Finn. The film you need to go and watch is a film called Columbus, directed by Kogonada, which came out in 2017, didn't get released in the UK until late 2018. Stars John Cho and Haley Lou Richardson. Lovely movie. And Parker Posey as well. Lovely movie. Kogonada's got a new movie coming out this year with Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie. Looks great. But Columbus is about architecture, but it's not about architecture. It's very meditative. It's very soulful. Sometimes to wind down in the evening, I play the soundtrack, and it's very sort of boom, boom. Go watch that out. There you are. There's your answer. Nail it.
Just again on outfits and gorgeous looking frames. The Settlers. Or Los Colonos.
Oh, yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah, you said that.
Almost too much so. Do you remember I was like, it's almost so perfectly manicured because it's such a violent and dark, unsettling film, ironically. It's called Settlers. I was almost like, is it too beautiful? Like a magazine editorial campaign. Stunning.
Even The Brutalist, we just talked about it for its architecture, but for its outfits. I remember Guy Pearce looking wonderful in the double-breasted Van Buren suits.
Fantastic. Like just like these outfits. Actually, this doesn't do it justice. But you see like just this gorgeous, you see that?
Yeah.
Gorgeous red. I cannot explain enough. You should see the film purely for the mise en scène. Go check out my Los Colonos review from a while ago.
Those are all the emails we have time for today, guys. Thank you very much for sending those in. As ever, if you have thoughts, you can send them into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. We move on.
George, as always, Pulp Kitchen ends
with a game.
We are back with a fan favourite. It's common denominators. I'm going to read out 3 films of an actor, and you have to guess who is the common denominator in all of those films.
God.
You've always been very good at this game, and I think I've got a couple in here towards the end that I think are hard.
Okay.
Because I've chosen like films where there's just like loads of cast members in it. Okay. But I'm going to see how you do. You can play along at home. I will read out 3 films, as I already said. And in all of those films is an actor who has been in all of them. And George has to guess what actor is in. It is the common denominator. Are you ready? Please playing along at home. George, you have to guess the actor in all of these 3 films. Ready? Alita Battle Angel, Spectre, Django Unchained.
Django Unchained. Walton Goggins.
No.
Alita Battle Angel. Spectre.
And Django Unchained.
Andrew Scott, Dave Bautista, Sophie Butella.
No.
It's Spectre. Is it the French Léa Seydoux?
No. Come on.
Christoph Waltz?
Yes, he's the common denominator.
Yeah.
Contagion, Man of Steel, 21.
Amy Adams.
No.
David Strathairn.
No.
Contagion. Gwyneth Paltrow. Matt
No.
Damon.
No.
Jude Law.
No.
Kevin Spacey's not in that. No. Russell Crowe.
No.
Kevin Costner.
No.
Diane Lane.
No.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes, he's the common denominator. Right. The Grand Budapest Hotel, Sherlock Holmes, The Holiday.
It's not Rachel McAdams.
No.
Jack Black. No. Owen Wilson.
No.
Edward Norton. Adrian Brody.
The Holiday.
The Holiday's got Jack Black and Rufus Sewell and Jude Law.
Yes, Jude Law. He's the common denominator.
Jude Law. Right.
The Amazing Spider-Man, Mrs. Doubtfire, Forrest Gump.
Sally Fields.
Yes, correct. That's the common denominator. Heretic, Win a Date with Tad Hamilton, and Spider-Man 3.
It's Topher Grace.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
He's the common denominator.
I forgot he's in Heretic. Yeah.
Tomb Raider 2018, The Hateful Eight, and Predators.
Predators. Walton Goggins.
Yes, well done. That's the common denominator. Lawless, Oppenheimer, and Lincoln.
Jason Clarke.
No.
Lincoln.
It's all got great casts.
Is it David Strathairn?
No.
Lawless.
Oppenheimer, Lincoln.
So Lawless is Shia LaBeouf, Tom Hardy, and another guy.
This is hard.
Guy Pearce is in it. Oppenheimer, who's got everyone in it. And what's the third one?
Lincoln.
Oh, he has
That's why
everyone
it's
in
hard.
it. It's not Adam Driver. It's not Jeremy Strong.
Nope.
It's not David Oyelowo.
No.
It's not...
Where is he?
Wally. 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 Where is he?
Yeah.
Wally.
We talked about it earlier. Where is he?
Oh, Dane DeHaan.
Yes, Dane DeHaan. That's correct. He is the common denominator. Last one. The Dark Knight Rises, Big Fish, and Lee. I know it's hard.
So, Big Fish and Lee. Oh my God. The Dark Knight Rises. So, Marion Cotillard.
Yes, that's very good.
Yeah.
She is the common
Cool.
denominator. Well
Cool.
done. You have completed your game
Bloody
of common
hell.
denominators. We got there in the end. I really was like, how can I make this hard? I chose films with big casts. Like, I thought Lawless, Oppenheimer, Lincoln for Dane DeHaan was really hard. I did kind of give it to you, but
My vision's just basically gone. I don't know what I was looking at, but I was just staring in my mind palace.
you surprised you didn't get Christoph Waltz, which I thought would be easy, but you found a rhythm in the middle, which was nice.
Yeah.
when I was like The Holiday, and you just said everyone but Jude
I
Law.
went for like I kept thinking it was the not obvious answer. Oh, John Krasinski's in one scene. Is that it?
Sally Field you got really quickly,
Yeah.
which I guess is kind of good. Yeah, it was fun. You'd said Walton Goggins and Jude Law and other ones. I was like, no, but hold on to that.
Walton Goggins is a good one to get. He turns up in lots of
It's
things.
a fun game, common actors. Well done. Well
thank
done.
you.
Well, that was the game today. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Don't forget we post new episodes of Pulp Kitchen every single Wednesday.
And don't forget, you can get your tickets for episode 200, which is our live event happening in October. We're so excited. Have you got your tickets? If not, bloody get them and go. It's going to be such a fun time. We're going to see you there.
We're so excited. If you love what we do and you want to support us and you want to see us live, we would love to see as many of you there as possible and just get to shake our hand and grab us and be like, I listened to your show. And we'll be like, no way.
It's going to be great. And also, if you want to support us week to week, a great way of doing that is signing up to our Patreon so you can listen to Double Take, which is our exclusive film news show talking about all the major things that are happening in the film industry at the moment. The box office successes, the box office failings, award contenders, big trailer drops, big directors attached to big projects, and so on and so forth.
rumors.
The rumors.
The trailer reactions.
Rumors. I love rumors. That's a bit Trumpy,
That
but
was
that's actually meant to be Hans Lander.
I love rumors.
Yes, rumors. I love rumors. Good album too. Guys, have a great week. Thank you so much to our producers, Finn and Dave.
Bye, guys.
Bye.